In a quiet, foggy alley of Hemswich Town, there stood a clock repair shop called Merrick's Timepieces. Few people visited it now, but once, decades ago, it was owned by a man named Gareth Merrick, an infamous butcher who mysteriously vanished one stormy night in 1963. People whispered of screams and blood, but no one ever proved anything. 50 years later, the shop was inherited by a young horologist named Eli Grant, who had no clue about its dark past. He had a passion for antique clocks and jumped at the chance to restore the dusty collection that still sat behind the locked doors. When Eli opened the place, he noticed a strange, rotting smell, faint but ever present. Most of the clocks were harmless relics, except one. It sat on the back shelf. Tall, crimson-stained wood, a rusted blade swinging like a pendulum, and in gold letters it was labeled, "The Butcher's Clock." Part 2, The First Tick. The moment Eli touched the clock, it started ticking. He hadn't wound it, it hadn't moved in years, he shrugged it off as mechanical luck. But that night, he dreamed of a blood-soaked man in a butcher's apron, sharpening knives in the dark, whispering, tick tock, who's next on the chopping block? Eli woke up sweating, heart racing. On his wrist, there was a fresh cut he didn't remember getting. The next day, the clock's ticking grew louder, not just to his ears, but echoing around the shop. It began to follow him, even when he went home. Every room he entered, the sound was there. Tick, tock, tock. Part 3, The History Revealed. Desperate, Eli searched the town archives. He uncovered the dark truth. Gareth Merrick wasn't just a butcher. He was a serial killer, known as the Midnight Carver, who murdered 13 people and used his butcher's clock to time each kill. Legend had it he would wind the clock before each slaughter. When it stopped, he struck. But one night, he vanished, leaving only blood, cleavers, and the ticking clock behind. These locals believed his soul fused with the timepiece, binding it with an eternal hunger. Part 4, The Mark of 13. That night, Eli returned to the shop to destroy the clock, but it had moved from the back to the center of the room. A note was pinned to it, written in blood. Only 12 more to go. Suddenly his phone rang. A voice, raspy and human, said, "Time's up for the girl across the hall." Click. Eli rushed home and banged on his neighbor Mira's door, but it was too late. She was dead, slashed, face twisted in horror, and drawn on the wall in red. Part 5, Madness Ticks. On Eli's mind began to spiral. He tried dumping the clock in the river. It came back. He burned it. It reappeared, unscathed, ticking louder. The numbers kept counting down. With each victim, strangers, friends, even a childhood teacher, the butcher's whisper grew clearer in his head. When the last bell tolls, you take my place. Eli stopped sleeping. He heard the cleaver scraping walls. He saw blood dripping from the clock hands. His reflection started smiling back even when he didn't. Part 6, The Final Talk. Now only one number remained. A big red 1 appeared on the clock face. He screamed into the mirror, "Who's the last?" The answer came softly from behind him, "You." Suddenly the hands of the clock spun wildly. Midnight struck and the door creaked open. And standing there was the ghost of Gareth Merrick. Decayed, apron soaked in blood, cleaver in hand. Eli tried to run, but his feet were stuck, his limbs stiff, his body no longer his. Merrick stepped forward and smiled. "Time's a circle, boy. You tick now. You chop now." And just like that, Eli's face twisted into a sinister grin. His eyes glazed over. The butcher's soul had moved on. Epilogue: A new shopkeeper. Weeks later, a new owner sign appeared on the old shop window. Inside, the clock still ticked, still bled, still waited. And the new shopkeeper, in a bloody apron, stood silently behind the counter, waiting for someone to ask, "What's that strange clock doing there?" The butcher's clock always ticks for someone. Will you hear it next?